Chapter 56, Academy Days Part 15. And Fly Away. Training Ground 3. Leaf Hurricane. Shoto delivers a high spinning kick that Naruto dodges easily enough. The boy spins a full rotation and stops in the position he started. Naruto closes in the distance and gives a series of jabs that should be slow enough for Shoto to dodge or block. Lee taught you that, huh? He makes banter as they spar. But it's nothing like his. Shoto pants, trying his best to focus on blocking. It's not. Trying to make it my own, a part of the Shorin Ryu. Naruto grins. I see. Then let's work on that, huh? He progressively speeds up his strikes. He doesn't really hit Shoto, but does something arguably worse. Annoy him. A little shove on the shoulder, a flick on the ear, and even trying to find his ticklish spot. Turns out he's most ticklish just under the ribs. The short bursts of laughter make it increasingly more difficult to dodge. Thankfully, he's soon saved when an ostrich rushes in and tries to kick Naruto, but is once again dodged with great ease. Before fully separating from Shoto, Naruto delivers one final shove with his foot that sends the boy to the ground. Now, for the ostrich. What it lacks in martial form, it more than makes up with its strength, each kick resounding with a powerful thud, even if it only hits air. It's nowhere near as strong as Sakura, but it's definitely got the potential. Naruto muses as hops backward while chased by the giant bird. Oddly enough, this isn't as strange as other situations he's found himself in. He quickly scans the field to see Katori and Yakimeru getting back up to their feet, tired and dirty, but still in the fight. Good. Yakimeru takes a more battle-ready stance and brings his hand together, discs of light blue crystalline shine forming into existence. Crystal style? Crystal Shuriken. The two formed Shuriken flight toward Naruto. At first, it looks like they'll go wide and miss him entirely, but as they get closer, they swerve and aim right for him. Did Tenten teach them that trick? He makes an observation. No, changing the direction comes from the flick of the wrist. These ones were shot from the air. So he can control their direction? That's new. Naruto reaches into his pack and pulls out a three-pronged kunai. He channels chakra into it to increase its power and range, as taught to him by Asuma-sensei, and when the shuriken get close, he breaks them with relative ease. It's like Gurren said. As he is right now, he has to pick between speed or durability. Ninja art? Crushing impact. Katori sends her ostrich in for the attack as soon as the crystal shuriken are destroyed. Naruto bolts to the side as the claw comes crashing down on him. When the dust dies down, it reveals a sizable crater left behind in the ground. Naruto uses this opportunity to rush in and slash at the ostrich with his dad's kunai, leaving it as only a collection of floating feathers. However, this doesn't deter Katori. The feathers don't last long once a bird has been destroyed, but they last long enough for one final trick. Feather kunai. The feathers that float around Naruto jerk mid-air and point directly at him. Once again, however, he dodges out of the way when they shoot at him and they disappear shortly after. That's a pretty dangerous part of Katori's aviary. If you get in too close to destroy her birds, they can still be used as a weapon. When she gets stronger and gains better control, it'll be a deadly combo. The kids all finally get their bearings and come together. They've been at this for well over 2 hours now and their exhaustion is showing. They've trained for longer, but this is way more intense than any of the training they'd done until now. Naruto always pushed them to their limits, but now he's pushing them beyond, forcing them to think quicker and smarter. Despite the situation they're in, Yakimeru is grinning ear to ear. He seems more excited than ever. What's got you in such a good mood? Shoto cleans some dirt from his face. We're getting our butts kicked here. Katori leans low to the ground, ready to pounce on a moment's notice. Yakimeru giggles. It's been a while since we trained, the four of us. It's nice. The tiredness on Katori and Shoto's faces gives way to a smile of their, yeah, suppose you're right. Naruto loosens his stance and walks over to them with a smile. Yeah, sorry about that. I know I've been real busy lately, but it's slowing down now, we can get back to training. Shoto shakes his head. You don't need to apologize, Shisho. Yeah. Yakimeru nods in agreement. Besides, we've been training our own ways this whole time so you don't have to worry. I saw that. Naruto grins. It's only been a few months, but you've all grown even more as shinobi and I couldn't be more proud. He kneels down in front of them and pulls them all into a big hug. The kids grin and gladly return the hug. But you still got a lot to learn. Naruto's smile twists into a devilish sneer. You let your enemy get close. He tightens the clutch he has around the kids and abruptly stands up, immediately spinning as fast as he can when he does. I thought we were resting. Katori's voice comes out distorted from the high-speed rotation. I said no such thing. He finally releases them and they all go flying in different directions. They do manage to catch themselves mid-air and avoid crashing too hard. They roll around in the dirt for a bit, but quickly recover. That is, quickly for them. For Naruto, they're slow, so by the time Shoto looks up, Naruto is already in his face to continue their spar from earlier. Naruto's strikes are fast and he keeps the little annoyances from before. This time, he also grabs Shoto's orange belt that keeps his guy in place and unties it. Naruto hops back and twirls the belt. Shoto clenches his fist. That's important. I think it is. Naruto looks it over. Everyone who trains in your Shorin Ryu gets one, right? Different colors for different ranks? Yes. The boy nods. But you know, Shoto, you really shouldn't carry into battle something you're not ready to lose. You never know how it might get ruined, and it makes for an easy target. Naruto sighs and walks back to Shoto. He leans down and offers to help him put the belt back on, which Shoto accepts. The boy silently steps closer and Naruto ties it back into place. As he gives the belt one final tug to make sure it's locked in place, Shoto swings his fist and tries to catch his teacher on the nose, but it misses. You didn't say we're resting. Shoto smiles smugly. You cheeky little. Naruto chuckles. In his kneeling position, Naruto slides back while blocking a flurry of punches and kicks, and then has to defend from Katori and Yakimaru, who jump in at the same time. Of course, 3 10-year-olds aren't going to make him sweat, no matter how better they've gotten. And so their training resumes. A dull golden light covers the village by the time they finish. The sun is calling it a day, so they may as well, too. Naruto is sitting on the ground, visibly pleased with how the day went. The kids are leaning against the wooden posts and trying to remember how to breathe. That was a lot. Yakimaru dabs his sweat with a towel he brought from home. Shoto slumps to the ground. Yeah. I think I'm gonna nap. Shoto? Katori grabs his shoulder with an over-exaggerated crying face. Shoto, don't leave us. No. She's stopped by Shoto abruptly grabbing her face. Too energetic. He grumbles and rolls over on his back. Are we gonna train like this every day? Naruto laughs. I'm surprised you're not used to it since you've been getting lessons from Lee. He mostly just gives me tips. He's really busy, too. Shoto rubs a few sore spots he got over the course of the day. Naruto was holding back, but he still got a few good hits in. But no, it probably won't be this intense every time. Guess I got too excited to train with you guys again. But we are gonna train more than we did before. You're academy students now and gonna become genin in 2 years, so we gotta get you ready. Alright. They try to give out an enthusiastic demeanor, but it proves more difficult. Naruto suddenly remembers. Before it gets too late, I wanted to give you guys this. He reaches into his pouch and takes out 3 square pieces of paper. The kids take them with a visible confusion. Thanks. Yakimaru looks it over. Just what I always wanted. Shoto jokes. Naruto laughs. They're not gifts. I want you to channel your chakra into them. You'll see what happens. Their perplexity only grows but still do as instructed. After all, it's their teacher, they can trust him. Right? It takes a few seconds to focus their chakra, but once they do, they can clearly feel some sort of connection to the paper. It's responding to their chakra, but they have no idea how exactly or what it's doing. Much to their shock, Shoto's paper crumbles to dust, Yakimaru's burns to ash, and Katori's paper splits into 2. Naruto grins. I figured as much. Yakimaru pokes at the dust gathered at his feet. What happened? This is called chakra induction paper. It helps shinobi figure out what nature their chakra is. That way you can focus on training for cool new elemental ninjutsu. But, Shisho, I already knew I can use earth style. Shoto scratches his head. So was this needed? You're right, you can use earth style, but that doesn't mean it's your affinity. This paper tells you which of the 5 natures you're best at, and so would have the easiest time learning. You've been using earth style, but it was possible you could have been stronger with something else. He shrugs. You're not, so it's all the same. Yakimaru looks between his ash pile and Shoto's dust piles. So what about me? If you wanted to learn some fire style, you'd be better at it than earth or water. But with the 3 combined, you got your crystal style, so you should just focus on that for now. I was more curious than anything. He gives a hearty laugh. I don't think Gurren wants to add any more to your plate. So what about mine? Katori twists the 2 pieces. Naruto takes out a piece of chakra paper between his fingers and it splits into 2, just as Katori's did, are good with wind style. Just like me. He grins. What I'm thinking for you too, He points to Shoto and Katori, is to have you start doing more ninjutsu. Shoto, you got your Earth-style Earth Spear, but something cool in your arsenal's always helpful. And you, Katori, can start learning nature manipulation. My taijutsu is more than enough. Shoto clenches his fist in front of him. I don't need anything else. Sure. Naruto looks at him very skeptically. Try to hit me. Naruto stands up and walks a bit away from the wooden posts. Shoto looks between him and his friend with bewilderment but stands up as well and walks forward, taking his signature stance when he's a respectable distance from his teacher. Naruto stretches his legs, kneeling as low as he can, and with a single leap he jumps high into the air. When he reaches his peak, he summons a shadow clone to keep him afloat and continues to summon them when he begins descending. He keeps jumping back and forth like this for a while as Shoto just blankly stares upward. Come on, hit me. Naruto taunts. Shoto scratches his head. Yeah, okay, I get the idea. The real Naruto falls to the ground, sticking a three-point landing, while the shadow clones disappear. But isn't that where Katori and Yakimaru come in? They can do long range and I can stick close range. Shoto asks. The two kids nod. Yeah, we can cover his back. And if you get taken out first? Naruto asks. It's good to have a specialty, and I'm not asking you to give it up. You can keep being a taijutsu specialist and I know you'll be amazing at it. He plants his hand on the boy's head, ruffling his hair. But having even one hidden tick up your sleeve can turn the tide. I understand. Shoto nods firmly. I won't question your judgment again. So what new thing is Yakimaru gonna learn? Katori asks, now munching on some snacks she'd brought. He's already got his hands full. Naruto explains. His crystal style and medical ninjutsu are both difficult to master, so he'll be doing that while you two learn a few new tricks. But for now, let's call it a night. Yes, sensei. They say in unison and begin packing their bags. All in all, they felt it a successful day of training. Uzumaki clan compound training ground. While one Naruto was out training with the kids, another Naruto had a somewhat similar task. This clone in particular is at the clan's training ground and is surrounded by Iwaji's 4 grandkids. It was their turn to spar with Naruto, with the other battle-ready Uzumaki taking their well-deserved breaks by the trees. Iwaji and Kyoto are going around, making sure they're feeling well. It's a bit of a handicap as right now Naruto is sparring not just against the 4 grandkids, but Naruto actually might just have the advantage as he actually has 8 years of active shinobi duty, while they only have the knowledge. They've obviously been trained well, but Naruto's hands-on experience is definitely proving to be a big plus. They try to use their numbers to overpower him, and it definitely comes close, but Naruto's still one step ahead. Sen hops right over him, swinging his lightning-coated katana right at Naruto's neck. He's not going for the kill or anything, but he knows that anything other than this won't get much of a reaction from Naruto. And besides, this is a shadow clone so no one would get hurt. Naruto ducks in time to only lose the tips of his hair. He has to bolt backward to dodge a torrent of water, powerful enough to cut down a tree not far from where they are. Water style? Water trumpet. He looks to the source of the water, where Asuka tries to move her water style to hit him, but she needs a better distraction it seems. Before the water can die out, Saki takes advantage of it, seeing that it's not going to reach its target. She inhales deeply and spews a stream of fire, not at Naruto, but at her younger sister's water trumpet. Fire style? Fire bullet. The resulting steam covers the entire area which gives them the cover they need. When the group gets too close for comfort, that's when Naruto finds a way to put some distance between. He gathers his yellow chakra around his palms, 2 spheres of violent chakra growing larger and larger. Twin massive Rasengan. He spins around as the Rasengan clear the steam and dig a crater into the ground, showing just how much of a bad idea it is to get close right now. When it dies down, he has a second to breathe before the attacks come again. The eldest, Michi, leaps forward to try and shoulder barge him. Naruto pushes back and grabs onto his armor to try and throw him back. Before that can happen, however, Michi disappears and its place stands Asuka, the much younger and much shorter. Naruto grasps at air. Got you. Asuka smirks. String light formation. A series of jutsu formulae sprawl from under her feet, forming into several circles, each larger than the previous, with straight lines of scribblings cutting said circles. Naruto freezes in places. This is a jutsu he's actually familiar with and has been under the effects of. When Iruka tried to stop him back on Turtle Island, he managed to break free using Kurama's chakra. However, Asuka's usage of it is way stronger despite her young age, and as per the rules of the spar, He can't use Kurama's cloak or Sage mode. He pushes himself as much as he can, but before he can even see if he can break free, Michi, Sen, and Saki surround him and form hand signs of their own. Three directions seal. A green glow emanates from all three of them as strings of light shoot out from their hands and at the other siblings. The light grows wider, forming walls around Naruto, eventually trapping him in a green triangle. He feels the pressure increase several-fold under the two Fuinjutsu he's currently under. The three of them forming the triangular seal step closer to him, shrinking the seal and giving him much less room to breathe. He groans in pain as the crushing sensation grows much more intense as they close the seal, and Asuka's seal seems to be gaining power, too. He's finding himself with less options. The one thing he can do right is now slowly and painfully twist his hand so it's not facing him. He might not be able to move, but he doesn't need to for this one jutsu. The yellow chakra gathers at his palm again, expanding rapidly. Massive Rasengan, the triangular barrier shatters, sending the siblings flying back. Before the dust even settles, they each find themselves with a three-pronged kunai at their neck. Awaji claps. Excellent work. The four clones disappear as the original falls on his back in the middle of where they just were. Oh man, that was heavy. Michi plops herself on the ground, crossing her legs. We got so close, too. Naruto laughs. Yeah, you did. If it was anyone other than me, that really would hurt. Sen crosses his arms in a huff. Wow, so humble. It's true. Asuka nods. Our seals prevent movement, but his jutsu doesn't need any movement. Are there any seals that mess with someone's chakra? Saki asks. There are. Their grandfather answers. But they're much more difficult to learn. Michi hits the ground with a closed fist. If the people we're fighting are some vengeful faction of the Uzumaki, then we definitely need to learn that. Yeah. Sen clenches his fist. If they're as strong as Gramps said, we can't just sit on our asses. And we won't. Naruto gets up to his feet. That's the whole point we're doing all this, right? The Uzumaki clan sealed the great beasts once before and we'll do it again. Naruto looks them all over with a stern gaze that they'd never seen from him before. No doubts, no hesitation. Awaji nods. Well said. You needn't be hard on yourself, I've already made tremendous progress. And, Lord Naruto, allow me to thank you for agreeing to help. He bows to his clan leader. Ah, no, you don't have to. Naruto waves his hands in front of himself. I dunno what I would have done without you and Karen helping with all the administrative stuff. This is the least I could do. Awaji claps once to gather everyone's attention. I thank you all for participating today, we'll continue again tomorrow. I'm exceptionally proud of how everyone has come. The Uzumaki begin gathering their possessions with the day now over. They all give their farewells and they go their own separate ways, although they're not too separate seeing as they live relatively close to one another. It's at this point that another Naruto approaches, with Kotori in tow. The shadow clone just arriving releases himself and the real Naruto sifts through his memories. Now that he has all the necessary information, he calls out to his cousin. Oh, Michi. Can I ask you a favor? Yeah, what's up? Michi runs her fingers through her short hair, trying to get it back to its usual spiky appearance. Working up a sweat has a way of flattening your hair. You think you could lend me your skills with Earth style? Oh? Michi flashes a grin and smacks her palm. You need me to pound into the ground. Nothing like that, it's about Shoto. Naruto explains. Sorry, man, I don't beat up kids. Naruto rubs his forehead. No, to teach him. Ooh. Michi finally realizes. Well, why didn't you just say so? Sure, I'll teach him. Thanks. Naruto grins. I'll call you when we got a plan. With that, Naruto regroups with Kotori and the two head home. Kotori in particular has a certain skip to her step, most likely from the excitement of her new training and the new jutsu she's going to learn. Uzumaki household. As they reach home, they're just in time to see Hinata returning with some heavy bags from shopping. Naruto speeds up his step and takes the bags off her. You coulda told me there was shopping to do. It's fine. Hinata smiles and places a hand on his chest. I got home early from work and wanted to walk around the market. Kotori takes a peek into the bags. What are we eating today? Well, I was thinking about some curry rice. How does that sound? Delicious. Kotori grins and runs ahead and opens the door for them. They head straight for the kitchen to unpack their groceries and shelve them where needed, with Hinata setting aside what she needs for dinner. So how did your day go? She asks as they put order in the kitchen. Great. The kids are really strong, you know. Naruto grins. Really surprised me with how good they got with their own training. I see. Hinata smiles warmly. Katori leans on the kitchen counter. And now I'm gonna learn wind style. Apparently I'm a good fit for it. Really now? Hinata raises a brow. What sparked this? Figured they oughta know, you know? Naruto shrugs. I learned about my chakra nature real late, but a lot of people learn early on. Thought it'd do Katori some good to learn it now. Yeah. Katori vehemently agrees. Kashiwama and Yakimaru can already do all sorts of cool stuff. Hinata giggles. So your aviary isn't enough, but it's perfect, right? Katori spins around in excitement. With my wind style I might be able to help my birds. Maybe I can even learn to fly myself. She lets her body slump, keeping her chin on the counter. I wonder if Takai learned how. She said she wanted to fly, too. Hinata leans down and kisses her daughter on the temple. I'm sure you'll see each other soon. But in the meantime, you could write to her. Katori takes a moment to process the information before she looks up with a furrowed brow. I can't? I don't see why not. I can ask Karui about sending a letter to the hidden cloud. Yes, Katori exclaims. Maybe I can send a letter to Mutsu, too. Then how about you write the letters tonight? Naruto ruffles her hair. And we can send when Karui gives the all clear. Will do. She immediately darts upstairs to her room to begin writing. She has to think about everything she wants to say. After all, it's been 2 years by this point and they've already been through so much, there's a lot to summarize. Naruto laughs at her enthusiasm and goes to wrap his hands around his fiancée. What about you? Me? She leans back and rests her head against his shoulder. I'm happier than I've ever been. End of chapter 56. Chapter 57. Academy Days Part 16. Rebirth Festival. Training Ground 3. With their training schedule more or less set, it's time for it to be put to good use. The kids are currently at the same training ground, but in opposite parts of it, for their own individual training. Michi Uzumaki and Shoto Teshin have picked a nearby rocky area, perfect for their earth-style training needs. The hardened ground provides for enough material for this exercise, and a decently sized cliff gives Michi some ideas for later use. Right now, though, it's time for the basics. Michi cracks her knuckles and rolls her shoulders. Alright, let's get you started, yeah? Shoto bows. Yes, Shisho. Michi winces. Yeah, none of that. Okay, so how about we start simple? Show me what you got. Shoto does as instructed, first activating his earth spear, making his hands turn a light brown up to the wrist, and then his stone bamboo shoots, 2 spikes of solid stone and hut out from the ground up to around knee height. Michi rubs her chin as she carefully observes Shoto's jutsu. Definitely got a lot to work here. So long range is your weakness, huh? It hasn't been a weakness so far. Shoto grumbles. Well, have you been close to death so far? The silence is all the answer she needed. Thought so. Here's what we gonna do first. She kicks his stone bamboo shoots. We gotta make this explode. I thought you were going to teach me long-range jutsu? Shoto cocks his head. This one's close range, too. Is it? Michi smirks before going through the exact same hand seals Shoto did and slams her hands on the ground. Earth style? Stone bamboo shoots from the 4 sides of a tree, a fair distance away from them, 4 massive spikes shoot out from the ground, piercing the tree and breaking it in half. Wow. Shoto stares in disbelief as the tree falls to the ground. Don't act too impressed. Michi, her hands having never left the earth below them, pushes downward and channels more of her chakra into her jutsu. The 4 bamboo shoots fly out at great speeds like gigantic arrows. They break some of the tree line and one embeds itself in the cliffside not far from where they are. I had no idea it could do that. Shoto steps back slightly, part of him fearing a landslide from the sudden disturbance. I can only make them close to myself. That's probably cause you only had half the information. Let me guess, you happened to find a scroll and taught yourself. You've never thought of it as anything more than a deterrent to get people to back away from you in close range. Shoto nods, astonished that she hit the nail pretty much on the head. More or less, yes. Figured as much. Michi nods. Since you already got the basics, I can help you build from there. While we're at it, I can also help you with your favorite jutsu to some extent. Earth style? Earth spear. Michi's hand, just like with Shoto's, begins turning a darker shade. Except her covers her entire forearm and is a much darker color. Ah. You can use it too, Shoto exclaims. I can, but not as well as the Teshin clan. I did some homework. One of the founding clans of the Hidden Stone, bitter rivals to the Hyuga, and having particular expertise with earth style like no one else. Their earth spear was on a whole other level, so we gotta make sure you unlock all that potential in you too. About that? Shoto thinks over information he'd gathered over the last couple years. How was the Teshin's control greater exactly? I've heard they were good, but not really the details. Well. Michi holds up her darkened arm. Do you see me moving my fingers? Shoto shakes his head, her hand very clearly not moving an inch. Exactly. There's a few jutsu that coat the body in a protective shell, but Earth Spear's by far the strongest. The major downside is that once you harden a part of your body, you can't move it. I could technically cover my whole body, but then I wouldn't be able to budge a muscle. Right now, I can't bend my wrist or move my fingers. It can have its uses, but it's usually too much of a risk. Shoto looks down to his own hand and bends his fingers. But I've never had that problem. Exactly. Michi points out. That's why the Teshin clan were respected. They could control the density and move freely even with it active. You could even go as far as calling it a Kekkei Genkai. And I can learn to do that too. If I can actually master the Earth Spear, I'd have a strong weapon and a strong shield. I'd be unbeatable in taijutsu. Michi delivers a solid chop on his head with her free hand. Easy there, sport. Remember there's a reason your clan fell from grace. Don't let it get to your head. Sorry. Shoto rubs his sore spot. So, how about it? A bit more excited for your training? She grins. Yes, Shisho. Shoto gives an overly excited bow. I told you not to. Elsewhere in the training, by the three wooden posts are the cousins Guren and Yakimaru Kagatsu, although one of them is old enough to be the other's aunt. Currently, Yakimaru is sitting atop one of the wooden posts, while Guren stands in front and gives a lecture. Listen, the crystal style requires insane concentration and focus. One wrong move and there's no going back. You've said that before. Yakimaru scratches his head. And I'll keep saying it until I believe it's actually sinking in. She replies sternly. You signed up to train medical ninjutsu, and that's all fine and dandy, but the crystal style is the opposite of healing. It's the ultimate jutsu for killing. It can crystallize any matter and instantly destroy it. That includes people. Every decision you make on the battlefield has to be calculated. She walks over to a tree situated behind him. She goes through her jutsu's hand signs and reaches to a lower branch. Crystal style? Crystal prison. The branch is instantly encased in her signature pink crystal. She grabs onto the branch with a gloved hand and grips tightly until it shatters into tiny pieces. There's not even a sight of the branch that used to be there. There's a reason I told you not to use it on people when we first met. Yakimaru looks down, nervousness overtaking him. But can't I just learn not to do that? If I can surround a person with crystals without actually trapping them inside, there won't be a problem, right? Guren sighs and walks over to him the post, placing a comforting hand on his shoulder. Look, I don't want to scare you, but you have to be careful with this. Last thing I'd want is for you to end up like me. But you're great, Guren. She laughs in response. Trust me, I'm not. And I was way worse before. But enough about that. Why don't you show me how far you've gotten? Yakimaru nods and hops off the stump. He fires off. His crystal wall has considerably increased in size, and his branching crystal tree, which still takes a bit of time to properly accumulate its additional thorns. As it is right now, it's more of a lawn ornament than an attack. Lastly, he shoots two crystal shuriken that swerve in an arc before hitting two adjacent trees. That change in trajectory. It's not something I taught you. Guren observes. Tenten-sensei's been teaching us shuriken jutsu and how to make them change direction. She flicks an actual shuriken between his fingers. It's easier when you throw them yourself, but I think I can do it like this, too. Not bad, kid, not bad. She grins at him. You might be better at it than I thought. Maybe it's time I stopped babying you and showed you how it's actually done. Yakimaru watches with great interest as Guren goes through her hand signs. When she finishes, nothing happens right away, but she just holds her hand high and runs her fingers as if on an invisible surface. As her hand moves, the space above her begins to crystallize. First it's a small sliver that grows longer as it travels behind her fingers. It expands, growing wider, as it begins to move its own, snaking around Guren who remains in her place. It seems to have no intent on stopping as it becomes the size of a horse, then growing to the size of a house, and even further into the size of the giant monsters Naruto has fought with. Crystal style? Crystal dragon. Yakimaru stares in disbelief at the gigantic serpent floating high above them. That's. His mind tries to find the right word, but the shock makes him forget he was even saying something. That is the crystal style. You're a long way from getting here, but that doesn't mean we can't start now. Guren commands the dragon to circle around in an even further display of the level of command the user has. Where do we start? Yakimaru still has trouble wrapping his mind around the sheer scope of the jutsu. We'll start with the basics. Start using jutsu at the highest density you can. Get a better feel for it until you can speed up the process. I'm going to have you exhaust your chakra supply until you get it right. Her devilish grin sends a shiver down the boy's spine. Yakimaru gulps and steels himself. Yes, ma'am. On yet another part of the training ground are Hinata Hyuga and Katori Uzumaki, engaged in their own pocket of training. Thankfully, Katori has her back turned toward Yakimaru's general direction, so she's not distracted by the gigantic pink dragon hovering over the forest. Hinata sighs when Guren's jutsu shatters. I hope she knows what she's doing with that display. Then she turns her attention back to Katori. The young girl's been sitting still for a while now, her hands fully clasped in the bird hand sign. With Hinata here to monitor her progress and help her better mold her chakra, Katori's current goal is to master a low-ranking wind-style jutsu. Before she can do that, she needs to train her chakra and get a better feel of how nature transformation is formed and utilized. She opens her eyes and goes through the hand signs. She takes a deep breath and exhales. Wind style? Breakthrough. What's meant to follow is a powerful gust of wind, powerful enough to blow a person away. What actually follows is about enough to scatter some papers off a desk. Katori pouts at the meager result. It's still far too early. Hinata giggles. Learning an element can be fast or slow, depending on the shinobi, but I know you're a fast learner. You'll manage just fine. It's just. Shoto and Yakimaru can already do all these neat things while I'm just starting. Oh, Katori. Hinata gives her a sympathetic smile and sits down in front of her, brushing her hair. You're not just starting. You already have an amazing jutsu that you're beginning to truly understand. You're just picking up an additional skill, like Yakimaru with his medical ninjutsu. I guess. Katori absent-mindedly uses a feather to draw shapes in the dirt at her feet. It is pretty awesome, right? She looks up and grins. It is. Hinata nods. So don't be too hard on yourself. Having a goal in mind is useful for training, but don't let that goal frighten you. When Naruto and I were younger, I was always amazed by how he always pushed himself despite the obstacles he faced and made it my goal to train just as hard so I can stand beside him. So rather than put yourself down, use it to lift yourself up. Katori looks at her with a glitter in her eyes. So you've liked Dad for a long time? I have. Hinata smiles warmly. He gave me the courage to not give up at a time I felt like giving up. Katori rocks back and forth with a huge goofy grin on her face. That's really romantic. But enough about that. You have training to do. Hinata circles around Katori and sits down, activating her Byakugan to help guide her chakra. Katori goes through her signature jutsu signs, large dark feathers materializing around her. Aviary. Condor. The raptor is still a far cry from what an adult should look like. It's still smaller than Katori where adults are larger than her, but it's still a healthily growing condor. Why did you summon that? Hinata asks. Katori pets the bird's shiny feathers. It's the first bird I learned to summon, all thanks to Takai showing me around her home and teaching me all sorts of stuff. He twists her head back to look at her mom. Thought I'd call it for support. Let's all of us work together on this. Hinata scritches the bird. The condor lets out a mighty screech and flies up, kicking up dust with its mighty wings. As it circles overhead, Katori continues to focus on her training. When all three of them finished their individual training, they gathered in one spot to rest up as much as they could and excitedly share their progress. Despite being utterly exhausted and drained, their training still wasn't over. Michi and Guren bid their farewells, while Hinata stayed to wait for Naruto. His part of the training, at least today, involved testing their teamwork and getting them to coordinate their jutsu. They tried using the excuse of low chakra, but Naruto and Kurama's ability to share chakra negated that argument. Right now, they find themselves greedily drinking water after a tough workout, while Hinata tends to their bruises and prepares their food she'd brought with her. You guys are really getting better every day. Naruto stands in front of them, beaming with pride. I don't think you leave us much choice, sensei. Yakimaru groans. You're increasing the intensity, aren't you? Shoto tightens the bandages around his arms. He's definitely increasing the intensity. He turns to his friends. Definitely. Katori nods firmly. And you're handling it great. Naruto gives them a thumbs up. A week of this and we'll take a break for the Rebirth festival, then back to it. The kids share a confused look. Rebirth festival? What's that? Katori asks. Naruto looks them over. Oh, that's right, it's you guys' first time here, huh? He scratches his head and takes a deep breath. It's a bit of a long story. Long enough to allow us rest? Shoto jokes. Good point. Naruto laughs and sits down, crossing his legs. Well, about 4 years, the village was attacked and pretty much destroyed. Like, everything was rubbled. You guys noticed how the ground by the gates is a bit higher? They look among themselves, trying to remember if they took notice of anything like that. I think so? Yakimaru racks his brain. Now that you mention it. Shoto tries his best to recall the streets at the edge of the village. There's a slope. Naruto nods. Yeah. The village was turned to a massive crater. But the village looks fine? Katori notes. It is now. Hinata adds. It took a great deal of work, but we all rebuilt together. So this festival was started to celebrate how everyone who died that day was returned to life. Hence the name. They all look even more confused than before. How did that happen? Naruto takes a moment to get his thoughts in order. All this feels like it happened so long ago, but now he's once again flooded by the pain and grief he felt at the time. The one who attacked the leaf. We had a little heart-to-heart and he saw the error of his way. Sacrificed his life to bring everyone else back. Someone strong enough to destroy the village. And revive everyone? What kind of person can even do that? Shoto wonders. Naruto bites his tongue, knowing that revealing the identity of that person could change things. He exchanges a questioning look with Hinata, who looks about as uncertain as he does. But the kids are smart. Can't keep everything hidden from them forever. About that, I want you guys to at least try and think differently about them. It's a bit of a sore spot, and I dunno if Konan even told Mutsu about this, so promise me this stays between us, okay? If nothing else. The ones who attacked the leaf are Mutsu's parents, Konan and his dad, Nagato. They all stare in shock, mouths agape. But why would they do that? Yakimaru asks. Those two. They were dealt bad cards in life. They suffered a lot and didn't have anyone to help them. Had no one to ease their pain, so it just grew too much. They're the products of war. But in the end, they saw that getting swallowed by hatred wasn't the way. That's why I don't want you to think about who Konan was, but who she is and who she's trying to be. Katori looks down to the ground. Is that why everyone was being weird around Konan? Yeah. It's still not easy for some to welcome former enemies. But you don't hate her, Shisho. No, I don't. I promised Nagato that I'd set hate aside and strive for a better world. I'd like for all of us to live a world without hatred, like my teacher before me. I dunno if I've found a way, but I want to. Then. Katori tightly grips her clothes. If you don't hate her, we won't either. Yakimaru nods firmly. She's been nice to us and Mutsu's our friend. To begin with, none of this really affects us. Shoto adds. We didn't lose our village, so we don't have a reason to hold it against her. Hinata smiles and wraps them all in a big hug. See, they're more mature than we were at their age. She looks up to Naruto. Yeah, you were right. Naruto laughs. I'd expect nothing less from my disciples. He tackles them all in a crushing hug. Ow, my bones. Shoto tries to get away from the death grip. Rebirth Festival. 1 week later. Preparations for the festival really began a week before the celebration itself. The entire village pitched in to make it all possible, which involved a lot of decoration being set up and a lot of ingredients being ordered for the banquet. What the Rebirth Festival really entails is a massive feast. It mainly takes place in front of the Hokage Tower, where countless tables are set up and absolutely covered with food. Every single eating establishment takes part and prepares enough to feed a village. Literally. Even though the main part takes place at the tower, there are also tables set up on the adjacent streets, since not everyone can fit there. It's a grand occasion that's been growing in scope since it was started 3 years ago. At first, it was just a smaller thing. Some music playing all evening, food that's easy to eat while walking akin to what you'd see at a street vendor, and all of it topped off with fireworks. Now those elements have been preserved, but the food is much more plentiful, the musicians performing live have multiplied, and even the fireworks have gotten more colorful. The people of the Leaf are fully taking in the evening and partying to their heart's content, including Naruto and his immediate company. The girls are sitting at their own table having the time of their life. Sakura, Tamari, Karui, and Karen are catching up on what they've been up to in the past weeks, while Hinata and Tenten are discussing the kids' studies, with Tenten taking this time to vent about Jiriki's uncooperative nature and how lost that sometimes makes her. Ino, meanwhile, has both Shiho and Yakumo in her sights and plans on getting as much out of them as she possibly can. We're not moving anywhere until you tell me how Shino of all people caught your eye. Ino drapes an arm over Shiho's shoulder. Shiho fidgets about in her seat, trying to hide her face behind her already concealing glasses. There's not much to tell, I'm afraid. She turns away, blushing. He recovered encrypted messages on a mission and helped the cryptanalysis team decipher them. Yeah, but that's how you met. How did you become an item? Ino probes for information. I don't know. We just started talking. He's kind, attentive, and really funny. Ino raises a brow. Shino? Yes, Shino. Shiho nods. Ino peeks over to the nearby table where the boys are sitting, Shino in particular remaining as motionless as a statue. Seriously? Seriously. Yakumo uses this chance to slip away to get a refill for her drink. Ino immediately whips her head to her. Don't think you're running away, either, you're giving me all the details on Sai. Yakumo laughs nervously. There's honestly not anything to tell, we're just friends. Sure, honey. Ino smirks. Come on, Ino, lay off them. Sakura tries to intervene. You get even worse when you drink. I will learn everything. Ino declares. Hinata laughs at their antics and stands up to join Yakumo to grab some more drinks. I'm sorry if it's too much. No, it's alright. Yakumo smiles. I've spent so much time keeping to myself I'd forgotten how fun it is. I didn't expect Sai to be friends with all of you, though. Yes, we're a somewhat unique group. Hinata looks back to the tables. Have you seen Kurenai-sensei lately? Yakumo nods. I met Mirai a few months ago. Then would you like to visit her together? Hinata offers. That would be nice. Meanwhile, the boys are being their usual loud selves, although that's more Naruto, Kiba, and Lee being their usual selves. Choji is hyper-focused on the meals as usual, Shikamaru is already yawning, and Sai is simply looking with an amused look on his face. Jugo and Shino are sitting in awkward silence, although those two are awkward to begin with, so maybe they prefer it this way. Now this is what I call a party. Kiba downs his drinks and laughs. Naruto does the same. Right? We should do this kinda thing more often. With our youth, everything is a celebration. Lee, without looking, reaches for his cup and almost grabs the wrong one. Alcohol. Before he can, Shino grabs his hand and leads him to the right cup. Oh, thank you, Shino. Lee flashes a bright smile. Of course. We are friends, after all. Shino states. Hey, Kiba drapes his arms over Naruto and Lee's shoulders as he addresses the table. How about we move somewhere better to watch the fireworks? He offers. Somewhere more intimate so we can better enjoy each other's company? Sai smiles. That's a tested form of bonding, I don't see why not. Not sure if I'd use the word intimate but sure. Shikamaru chuckles. Anything to get away from all this. Jugo nervously looks around. Somewhere quieter would be nice. I don't really do well with crowds. Well, there you have it. Kiba pats Naruto's back. You didn't see it last year, man, Lady Tsunade really pulled out the stops. Oh yeah? Sounds good. I was actually thinking at first to propose to Hinata after the festival, but all sorts of things happened and I ended up doing it at home. Naruto would immediately realize his mistake in revealing this piece of information. Mid-conversation with Yakumo and Shiho, Ino suddenly pushes herself from her seat and stands up, bumping into the table and pushing her chair to the ground. Despite the loud music, despite the distance between them, she heard. She has an ear for this kind of thing, and this kind of thing she will not stand for. Boy. Her words, barely a rumble, still reach Naruto's ears. The coldness of her single word sends a shiver down his spine. What did you just say? Ino? Sakura looks at her with concern. Ino ignores her and jerks her neck to glare at Naruto. Did you just say you proposed at home? Naruto takes a few cautious steps back. It's not what it sounded like. Oh? Ino slowly stomps closer to him. Cause it sounded to me like you ignored every bit of my amazing romantic advice and popped the most important question in a girl's life without any grace or dignity, like a base animal. Hold on, Ino, I can explain everything. Naruto speeds up his back walking. Explain it while you die. She starts chasing him around the table at full speed. Ino, wait. Hinata tries to stand between them. Don't try to defend him, Hinata. Ino glares at Naruto who's now bravely hiding behind his fiancée. I can promise you it was romantic. It honestly couldn't have come at a better time. Hinata smiles remembering how she was just wistfully thinking of the babies and wanting a family of her own when he asked the question. It was just the right moment. Yeah, that's right. Naruto chimes in. Ino grumbles, you're lucky Hinata's so nice. How about we all just go find a good spot for the fireworks, alright? Tenten tries to defuse the situation. The rest of the group readily agrees, finishing up their drinks and food and grouping together. Sakura stays back a bit from the group, noticing something of a pattern. Over the years, her classmates and friends have been getting closer and closer to the point everyone she knows is now paired with someone. Everyone except for her. Right now she's like a 15th wheel, and they're all set to go watch one of the most romantic moments. Fireworks. I actually need to go home. She makes an excuse. I have an emergency shift tomorrow, so I need to get some sleep. Oh, for real? Naruto whines. Can't you come with us a bit longer? Sakura. Ino tries to find the words, feeling that something's off about her friend right now. You guys have enough fun for me, okay? She waves them off and turns around in a rush. If you're sure. Shikamaru says, himself sounding unsure about splitting up this early in the evening. Ino stares at Sakura's back as she leaves. Even though you went on about how all the shifts are taken care of. With all of the commotion that surrounds this week, Kurenai had to scramble a lot to help as much as she could. She felt it the least she could do now that she's retired from active duty, but that still left Mirai. Thankfully, she had friends she could call on to help relieve her even briefly. That's where Kotetsu and Izumo come in. They're actually the ones who made Kurenai the offer to look after the little one, and now they return her home after a day of roaming through the streets. Mirai is currently in the process of trying to peel off the bandages that Kotetsu has on his face, but she finds some resistance there. When they reach the door, Kurenai is already outside waiting for them. Mama. Mirai is let down on the ground and runs over to her mom, hugging her tightly. Hello dear. Kurenai kisses her on the forehead. Did you have fun with Izumo and Kotetsu? I did. Mirai nods fervently. It was really fun. We ate lots. I see. Kurenai laughs. I can't thank you two enough for babysitting her. You don't need to. Kotetsu reapplies the bandage that runs across his nose. It was our pleasure, really. Izumo adds. Kurenai ushers them to come inside with them. The least I could do is treat you to a cup of coffee. The others are already inside. I guess we are not in a rush, right? Kotetsu turns to Izumo for confirmation. Don't see why not. With that, the four of them enter Kurenai's fairly spacious but still cozy abode. They leave their shoes at the entrance and are led to the living room, where Kakashi, Anko, Iruka, and Shizune are already seated and welcome them warmly. Hey, you two. Anko salutes them. Kotetsu and Izumo greet them back and sit down on the couch, where the table in front already has an assortment of drinks and snacks. Kurenai kneels down and brushes Mirai's hair. Do you want to go play with Shihei and Izuki? Yeah. The girl darts off with impressive speed for the bedroom where the babies are currently staying. It's been a while since I last saw you. Shizune addresses the two new arrivals. You've had good reason. Izumo laughs. Although you might see even less of me when you get back. Why's that? She tilts her head. Kakashi's head perks up. I was actually meaning to ask about that. Any reason you requested a lesser position, Izumo? Well, that's… Izumo turns to Kotetsu, the two having a silent agreement. If they were going to tell anyone first, it may as well be these guys. Well, Kotetsu picks up the explanation. One of us needed a lighter workload and be more available if we were going to be given permission. Permission for what? Iruka asks. Izumo takes Kotetsu's hand and intertwines their fingers, the two sitting closer to each other. We've been working on it for a while now, but we were finally granted permission to adopt. We're gonna be dads. Kotetsu exclaims. It takes a moment for the information to sink in, but when it does, they're met by a wave of congratulatory hugs. Anko in particular squeezes them as tightly as she can. Congratulations. Iruka shakes their hands and hugs them both. Kakashi clasps Kotetsu's shoulder as Shizune hugs. If you'd said something sooner, we would have sped up the process. We didn't want to impose. Kotetsu gives an embarrassed laugh. And there was a chance we could have been denied, so we didn't want to set expectations. You two will be amazing parents. Kurenai smiles ear to ear, ecstatic for the two. Thank you, Kurenai. Izumo hugs her. It means a lot. So, Anko sits back down, giddy to find everything out. Have you been to the orphanage yet? We've spoken to Yurashi, yeah. Izumo answers. There's a girl he thinks is a good match for us. Kotetsu continues. Her name is Tama, and she's around Mirai's age. We'll get to meet her in a few days. Kurenai, get the good stuff. We have to celebrate. Anko declares. The mildly good stuff. We have to be mindful of the kids. Kurenai reminds her with a laugh and stands up to fetch some less alcoholic beverages. Spoil sport. Anko crosses her arms, acting grumpy. The kids, meanwhile, are enjoying the festival in their own way. The six of them are sitting on a rooftop, with Yuriki being the only one standing, each of them holding a bag full of wagashi, small confections that are usually served with tea but are currently consumed on their own. Katori and Kashiwama are practically inhaling them, while the rest are eating at a steady pace. Shoto takes a bite of a pink wagashi shaped like a flower. These are really good. Kashiwama stops munching and grins. Right? I made some of them, Mom and Dad made the rest. Katori looks between him and the bag in her hands. Wait, you bake? She asks in disbelief. Genzai places a whole wagashi in his mouth. He's annoyingly good at it. He says with a full mouth. Wow, I never would have guessed. Yakimaru munches on the treats with newfound appreciation. Shoto furrows a brow. But isn't the point of the festival to enjoy other people's food? Why are you eating your own food? 'Cause it's good. Kashiwama shrugs. And you guys have never tried it before, so it makes sense for us to eat them with you. Jiriki states matter-of-factly. Oh, so you do care about us. Katori grins. Don't get your hopes up. He's right, though. Kashiwama exclaims. The Rebirth Festival is about celebrating together and being happy that we have each other. Katori goes quiet for a moment and lowers her head, thinking over whether to ask the question on her mind. Were you guys here when all that happened? Dad told us about it. Oi. Shoto intervenes in an attempt to warn her from bringing something like that up. Sorry. She slumps her shoulders. It's fine. Kashiwama's smile drops for a moment, but a weaker one takes its place soon after. Yeah, we were here. We were taken to safety. Jiriki answers without much hesitation given the subject. None of us were actually harmed or anything. What about your parents? Yakimaru asks. Genzai places his bag on the ground by his feet. We don't know. They won't tell us anything. Grown-ups have some kinda agreement to not tell us anything. They don't want us to worry about it. Jiriki huffs. Treating us like kids. We are. Genzai reminds him. Didn't want to bring up bad memories. Katori shrinks in her seat. It's fine. Genzai reassures her. You guys are new here, makes sense you'd want to know. Kashiwama abruptly jumps from his spot and stands on the edge of the roof. Come on, let's go get something else to eat, yeah? Katori smiles lightly and stands up after him. Yeah. Hanabi, POV. At her table, Hanabi uncharacteristically fidgets around with her food. She seems more interested in chipping at her taiyaki and throwing breadcrumbs to the ground than actually eating it. Konohamaru watches her throw away food until it begins bothering him too much. What are you doing? Hanabi slams the taiyaki on the table and turns to Konohamaru with a stern gaze. Did you really take down one of the enemy? Konohamaru blinks. What? When Pain attacked? Hanabi clarifies. Were you really here and fought one of Pain's bodies? Where's this coming from, after 4 years? Yeah, I fought. What of it? Just, weren't you afraid? Hanabi clenches her fist, gripping onto her kimono. Don't be stupid, of course I was afraid. But I was more afraid of Ibisu-sensei getting hurt while I just ran away. I was more afraid of letting someone destroy the village my grandpa worked so hard for. You weren't here, were you? Away on a mission or something? Hanabi nods slowly. Yeah, a diplomatic negotiation with the Taketori clan. I only got here after the village was destroyed. And what, you feel bad about it? Konohamaru asks bluntly. Of course I do. Everyone was here fighting for their lives and I was just out there, none the wiser. And what would you have done if you were here? No one was able to do anything until bro came back. Don't blame yourself for things you can't control, that's just stupid. Stop calling me stupid. Hanabi grumbles. Then stop giving me a reason to. Konohamaru says as a joke, but his tone is serious. We couldn't do much before since we were basically still kids, but now we're stronger. We're Chunin, as are Mogi and Yuden. Instead of thinking about what you couldn't do when you weren't even a shinobi yet, think about what you can do now that you're a Kikis-kunoichi. Kikis-kunoichi, huh? She smirks. You really think that? You are. He answers without hesitation. And you're only gonna get more Kikis. So, you and me, we gotta keep the village this safe. It's our turn now. Hanabi chuckles. You know, even you can say good things sometimes. She hops off her chair and plants a kiss on his cheek before heading down the street without saying a word more. Konohamaru stays stunned in place. Wait, what just happened? Sakura POV. In truth, Sakura didn't have any shifts for the coming weeks. She just was increasingly uncomfortable being there. Not that she hates her friends, far from it, but with many of them being couples and the others beginning to suspiciously act like couples, it leaves her as the odd one out. With the nature of the Rebirth Festival where many people had a chance at a second life, it's been made into somewhat of a romantic event, too, as it made people realize how short life is. So many couples get together or propose or are just generally more clingy. To escape all of that, Sakura chose to head as far as she could while still enjoying the sights. A place that's actually come up a few times when talking to Naruto the Great Stone Faces. In her search for solitude, she figured to sit down on top of her mentor's visage. Then again, from what Yakumo told them, somewhere just above her is Sai and Yakumo's special spot, so even here the romance is strong. For now she'll just ignore that. She absorbs the music that can be heard even from up here, the singing and cheering, the bright lights. It's fun to be in the middle of it all, but there's a certain beauty in appreciating things from afar. Her appreciation, however, is interrupted by a powerful chakra coming from right beside her. She immediately jumps to her feet and prepares for a fight if need be. She now sees where the chakra is coming from, the fourth Hokage's head. A small black bead materializes in the air, spinning and expanding until it reaches the size of a door. That looks like space-time ninjutsu. She observes it until she senses a presence stepping through. Is it an attack? Today, of all days, she springs into action. Shanaro. Channeling her chakra to her fist, she jumps from the fifth's to the fourth's head, ready to strike at whoever or whatever pops out from the other side. However, when she sees who comes out, she tries to stop herself as best as she can despite being mid-swing. Sasuke, barely out of his portal, ducks out of the way as Sakura's fist goes past his head, creating a thunderous boom. Sasuke blinks once. If I've done something wrong, I'll apologize. Sasuke, it's just you. Sakura falls to her knees and sighs in relief, her heart no longer racing. You really startled me. What are you doing up here? I'm returning from a mission. He answers. A mission? She quirks her brow. What are you doing on a mission when the whole village is celebrating? Sasuke joins her in sitting down on Minato's head. There's still a lot we don't know about the great beasts, and everything surrounding Kaguya Otsutsuki rubs me the wrong way. So with the Hokage's permission, I go out to investigate, he explains and looks down to the village, eyes scanning all the groups of people having fun together. And besides, this isn't for me. I wasn't even here when it happened, I was actually on my way to attack it myself. He shakes his head. I have no right to be down there. Do you ever plan on not being hard on yourself? After a moment of thought, Sasuke answers. Probably not. What about you, why aren't you down there? Too much love in the air. She waves her hand dismissively. Don't feel like hanging around alone when everyone else is together. Everyone? Sasuke raises a brow. Sakura begins counting off on her fingers. Naruto and Hinata, Ino and Kiba, Shikamaru and Tamari, Shino and Shiho, Karen and Jugo, even Sai and Yakumo apparently. And Choji and Karui, and Lee and Tenten are getting suspiciously close, too. She sighs in defeat. I see. Seems like Sasuke's missed a lot of socializing with his old classmates. Sorry. Sakura snorts. What are you apologizing for? I don't know. Sasuke looks away. Look at me, just going around complaining. She laughs nervously. You have your mission to report, don't you? Don't want to take up your time. She stands up and dusts herself off of whatever earth stuck to her clothes. I technically don't have to report until tomorrow. Sasuke tentatively begins talking. If you'd like to enjoy the festival together? Sakura continues watching the village silently with her hands behind her, back turned to Sasuke. After a moment of silent contemplation of the offer, she spins around on her heels. I thought this wasn't for you? She smiles lightly. I suppose it doesn't need to be. Sasuke pushes himself to his feet. Just the company. Sakura smiles in response. That sounds nice. A small projectile whizzes above their heads, the whistling sound startling them. As it flies high in the air, it explodes with a loud boom, leaving behind a sparkling flashes of colors. More follow it, filling up the air with a curtain of colorful lights. Below, the music and festivities are put to a halt as everyone's eyes are now focused on the sky above. The vibrant display continues for several minutes, with more elaborately shaped fireworks appearing one after another, some leaving behind a thicker trail as they fall to the ground, others only appearing as a small burst of light until near the end, where some bear resemblance to leaves. It gets more beautiful every year. Sakura admires the display. Yeah, it does. Sasuke takes in the view in front of him. All of it. He takes a step closer to stand by her side. I'll keep trying to become the person deserving of the loyalty you and Naruto showed. Sakura turns to him and places a hand on his chest. We can all see how hard you're trying, Sasuke, and we know how much it's eating you on the inside. You can slow down. As the last of the fireworks goes off and silence fills the air, Sakura takes a step closer, hands still on his chest. With flushed cheeks, she hesitantly looks up to meet his eyes, which look back at her in visible confusion. In a moment of temporary bravery, she stands on her toes, inching herself closer. until a loud noise completely breaks the scene. A large sphere of compressed wind, probably the size of the stone faces themselves, takes up the space above the village, a turbulent wind blowing anything light enough on the ground. That Naruto? Sakura complains. Using a Rasen Shuriken for this? When the jutsu fades away, it's followed by a barrage of elemental ninjutsu, taking over from the jutsu lift the fire jutsu high above, boosting their scope, while water jutsu burst into a light shower with lightning jutsu adds a bit of light to it. Up on the fourth Hokage's head, Sakura slowly burst out into laughter, with Sasuke surprisingly enough following suit. Leave it to that knucklehead to get the village riled up. Again. He does have that effect on people. Sasuke brushes back his hair, getting his hair out of his right eye which shifts. A red pattern resembling a six-petaled flower appears. Amaterasu. The elemental jutsu flying through the air become coated in black flames. As they move, the fire moves with it, when they split it splits with them. He allows it to remain for a bit before using his right eye to extinguish the flames. On you, too, huh? Sakura laughs. He turns away, brushing her hair behind her ear. About what just happened? I'm sorry. You can just forget about it. Sasuke, taking a page from Sakura's book, steps closer to her. Closer than even she got before. He wraps his right arm around her and holds her close. Sakura relaxes in his embrace. Kiba and Ino POV. After the end of the Rebirth festival, Kiba and Ino don't take the direct route to their homes. They take the scenic route around the edge of the village, where Kiba leads her into a small park that stands a bit more isolated than the rest. When they reach the pond in the middle, Akamaru is there waiting for them, holding a flower between his teeth. Ino looks between the dog and his owner in confusion, but the picture becomes clearer when Kiba takes her hands and holds her close. There, a proposal is made. Through tears of joy, the proposal is accepted. End of chapter 57. Name meanings. Tama. Her name can mean ball, but she'll take Katetsu's family name and be Tama Hagane. Tamahagane is a special type of steel used in Japanese smithing.